welcome to another Am I the A-hole video. We're going to look at some neurodivergent related, autism related Am I the A-hole on Reddit and decide whether these people are in the wrong. Okay, the first one looks very juicy, shall we say. Am I the asshole for getting at my girlfriend the first time we had sex? I don't know where the autism comes into it. Let's have a look. I, 26-year-old male, have high-functioning autism. I feel like every time I do these posts I have to be like, I don't love calling it high-functioning autism. I would prefer to say high masking or low support needs autistic. That's kind of language that we tend to prefer. Anyway, and I am currently with my first ever girlfriend, 27-year-old female. That's the same age as me, but I don't think I'm his girlfriend as far as I know. And I had never had sex before I was with her. Brackets, yeah, I know, laugh at me all you want. Oh, it makes me sad that he feels like he has to say that, but I understand, like, there is a lot of pressure. She's a great girlfriend, and I've never been happier with her, and she has had sex before. Okay, so she's got more experience. We decided to do it together, and here's the thing. She wasn't directing me at all. Sorry, I'm just imagining a like conductor in an orchestra or something, or like a movie director. She's there with the little slate, you know. She's like, cut, another take. I don't know, like what do you kind of expect her to do? I don't know. Okay, I'll come back to it in a minute, but I think it probably must be a bit difficult in that dynamic because there is kind of an expectation that men, it's expected to be just intuitive for them, that they've known how to have sex since birth, you know, and like traditionally women are supposed to be more passive in this role, and these are all things that should probably change as time goes on, and it's not the person's fault that it's the way this is. But let's see, because he says he got pissed at her, so let's see where this happens. I was upfront that I had never had sex before and was doing my best and kept embarrassing myself with the mistakes I was making. Oh, can you really make mistakes? I don't know, it depends what was happening, but I'm not sure. And then I finally got really frustrated and asked why she wasn't directing me, since my entire sex knowledge is from and internet research, and she went, sheesh, okay, and tried to direct me at first, but then I said I wasn't feeling it and just got my pants back on and decided to leave. I feel like I really embarrassed myself and wish she was more understanding and accommodating to the circumstances. However, maybe I overreacted a bit. Am I the asshole? Was she upset when you said you were gonna leave? Like, I feel like I'd be like chasing someone down, like, wait, no, don't go, we need to talk about this. I think that's the thing, it's just communication. You need to be kind of more upfront. I think the kind of irritation that you felt towards your girlfriend was more just embarrassment and defensiveness and a feeling like you weren't performing the way you were supposed to. And it's, you know, it's not nice that there's a lot of societal expectation on men to be like sex crazy, and of course they're gonna just intuitively know everything even though they're not experienced. And that probably did feel like quite heavy, and it probably felt like quite a pressured situation. And we know that autistic people, from very early research on autistic people, it's always been a thing that we're perfectionists. We tend to be more perfectionists. I can get like this. I can film videos. I have done it with so many videos on my channel. I film it and I have this sinking feeling in my stomach, and in my head there is an internal monologue about, this is crap, what are you doing, you need to stop, it's all going wrong. And I can really believe it, and it takes a lot of effort to push that down and just carry on and think, if it's rubbish I just won't post it, let's just edit it and see how it is. And most of the time I'm happy with it, and I can't even see it the way I was seeing it when I was recording it, you know, like sometimes our thinking is warped, it's not accurate. So I don't know what you were supposedly doing that was a mistake, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe you're actually being too hard on yourself. Did you ask your girlfriend, like, maybe she was fine, maybe she was having a great time, maybe it was okay, maybe she didn't feel like she needed to say anything? I don't know what they meant by they wanted to be directed. Did you want her to tell you what she likes and what she would like you to do? I mean, maybe it needed to be said in a different way rather than, I want you to direct me. Maybe you needed to have kind of more open discussions about, you know, what had she enjoyed in the past, what were you going to do? Autistic people often prefer direct communication, and that can be a thing in relationships, which can be really good. It can be great that we like to communicate directly. My husband's always said that that's great, that, you know, he always knows where he stands with me. And I just think just talking about it is really difficult because of, you know, how, you know, culturally we're trained to not talk about sex, to see it as dirty, to see it as something we, you know, we shouldn't talk about. And it's also like this idea that we should never talk about it, but then when the time comes, everyone should know exactly what to do and nothing can ever go wrong, it's all going to be perfect. And it just isn't, particularly the first times you're having sex with somebody. It's really normal. If anybody, you know, watching hasn't had sex before or is gonna, you know, maybe have sex for the first time soon, it's really normal for it to, you know, not be perfect and to be kind of awkward, or for things not to flow, because you don't know that person yet. You know, like when you kiss someone for the first time, it can be a bit of a like fumbly experience. Having a sense of humor can be great as well. That's kind of in my own relationships how I've got, you know, kind of got through things going wrong. I mean, like I think everybody who's been having sex has had times where things haven't gone ideally, or stupid things have happened, or awkward things have happened. You know, it's just kind of part of it. It's just kind of the nature of it. And I also think maybe this person is wrong to assume that just because his partner has had sex before that she'll be able to have all the answers and kind of read his mind and tell him exactly what to do. She also maybe doesn't find it easy to communicate about what she likes. And just because someone's had sex before doesn't mean that they're a complete expert. Say she's only been in one other relationship or something like that. You can be kind of pretty inexperienced still because you've only slept with one person and it's different with every person that you have sex with. I think it's just laughing. Use the autistic directness and just be really autistic and just be like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I think it's really difficult, and I think you've probably got this internalized idea that, you know, you should have had sex by now and this is quite late and you're behind everyone else and you're inexperienced. You know, it just doesn't matter when it happens for the first time, and it's great that you found someone now that you really like, and it sounds like you get on really well in other areas of life. So just talk about it. I don't know, a lot of things in relationships is like, just talk about it, even if it feels kind of painful. It is difficult. Like I feel like I have very good communication with my partner, but I feel like sometimes even still, and even after being together for a long time, it can be difficult when like sex comes into the mix to talk about things. It adds another layer, but I believe in you. You guys will get through this. I think you will. So the question is, am I the arsehole? I kind of feel tempted to say no arseholes here. I mean, obviously getting pissed and then leaving probably, you know, made her quite upset, but maybe it was like an overwhelming experience for you and you needed a bit of time to kind of calm down and reflect. And it's probably embarrassment. A lot of it's embarrassing. I mean, sex is embarrassing. It can be embarrassing. Being naked can be embarrassing. It's a really vulnerable time. Maybe you're a tiny asshole, because maybe it would have been better to just, you know, not leave, maybe just go and calm down and then try and have a conversation together and be more open. But we know, like, you know, some autistic people have alexithymia, struggle to identify their own feelings, so you may not have realized why you were feeling upset in the moment. So I don't know, maybe a tiny asshole. Someone said, I am reserving judgment. I'm the parent of a 20-something autistic child. I'm also on the spectrum. As it's been said here, communication is key. Yes, talk with your girlfriend, express clearly what you need. Yeah, write it all down prior to the discussion if you need to. That's a great idea. Ask her to do the same, and both of you try to take care of each other. Yeah, always should be your goal to make your partner feel good. I don't know how much I can read of this without YouTube stupidly trying to demonetize me, but basically he's saying that he should prioritize making his partner feel good because for him it will be easy and he needs to put that first. I don't know, I don't think it necessarily is always easy for men, particularly on the first few times. Like, it can be stressful for other people with penises as well. I don't think just because you have a penis it means that things are going to go smoothly on your end. So I'm not sure how much I agree with that. As an older adult, I can tell you that it is up to us to tell our partners what feels good and what they should never do again. The followings are things I wish someone would tell everyone when they're about to have sex for the first time. Explore her body and figure out what makes her feel good. She will tell you whether through facial expressions or noises. Well, she could also tell you through words. That can be helpful, I think, particularly with him being autistic. Direct communication would be a good idea. Most importantly, have fun. I don't want to call you the asshole because I get that you were inexperienced and anxious, but she probably was as well. Sex is different with each partner, yeah. Unless your relationship construct is that she instructs you in most things, why would you expect her to instruct you in sex? There are some women who are just as insecure about sex no matter their experience as you were the first time, and speaking up or directing is not something women are comfortable with. Yeah, it's just people in general. I think people in general are uncomfortable about sex. We probably don't even really need to gender that. Not only is it's something people can be uncomfortable doing, but people can get very defensive if you try and direct them. Yeah, because you might take it as like you're not doing things right sort of thing, but that's not a reason to not communicate, and you can kind of explain that to your partner. I got with a guy who would not accept that I was not enjoying where he was focusing on his tongue. No matter how much I tried positive reinforcement, when he did go with my preference, he'd just go right back to doing his own thing. That didn't last long, but still much longer than it should have. Yeah, you're the asshole. She's had sex before, so what? She hasn't had sex with you before. Believe it or not, it's just as new with each person. Yeah, it can be really stressful. Like, every person like kind of smells different. I don't know, it's just like not particularly in a sexual context, but like in general, being close to another person, like it's different, and it can be kind of overwhelming. You had no right to make her feel bad for your anxiety, and then leaving because you were embarrassed. You made her feel inadequate in one of the most vulnerable positions a person can be in. You suck. You aren't mature enough for a sexual relationship. I don't know, that feels a bit judgmental, and you kind of wonder, would someone say that if he had hadn't said that he was autistic. I don't know, maybe that's a bit infantilizing. I don't know, I feel empathy for this guy. I don't think he was a bad person. I think he wanted to make it a good experience, and maybe he put too much pressure on himself, particularly maybe because there's been such a build-up. He hasn't done it before. Through his whole life you hear that, you know, sex is such a big thing. I really think we could do with not seeing sex as such a big deal. Maybe that was the benefit for me. I just never really felt like it was that big of a deal. I think maybe that made me a little bit more easygoing with it and more able to just, you know, kind of accept when things weren't perfect and just kind of laugh it off and carry on. I think society is the asshole, if anything. In general, I just think it's so damaging how we don't talk about sex more than we do. Autism and sex in general is something I would like to talk more about on the channel, so if you have any specific topic requests, let me know and let's do another post. So this one's about an autistic boyfriend taking too long to get ready. My boyfriend is on the autism spectrum and has been diagnosed with autism. I like to say diagnosed as autistic because it is who you are, not a separate thing that you carry around or a disease, but other people say things differently sometimes and you can choose how you want to say it. I don't know why this is kind of a song. We live together, work only a few blocks from each other, that's nice, and head into work at the same time. So in the morning we get ready and Uber to work together. That sounds quite cute. I quite like that. It seems like every morning me and the Uber driver end up waiting on him. Okay, maybe not so cute. But I'm never on time for anything, so I really can't judge here. It's not for very long, and I'm still not technically late for work when I get there. Okay, that's good. But when it's constantly happening, it starts to get a little bit aggravating. A few days ago, I said something to him about it. I told him that I've noticed that he's always rushing to get himself together, even when I aim to leave for the same time every day. He will change his outfit 2 to 3 times, and sometimes we'll decide to change his outfit after I've already ordered the Uber. Oh, that sounds a little bit like maybe some sort of OCD potentially kind of thing, like needing to feel like you're in the right outfit. It could be kind of a control thing. Like, I can't control a lot about the workday. The workday is very overwhelming. I can control what I wear. That's the only thing I can really control. So I need to make sure I do it right to make sure the day is okay, sort of thing. I've said before, like, I think it was in my video about how PDA, the PDA profile of autism, feels from the inside. When I get my son's outfit ready for the next day, even as simple as his underwear or his socks or something like that, I'll kind of reach out my hand to pick up one and I have a little internal voice about like, they're not the right socks, and I get like this horrible sinking feeling in my stomach and I have to just try and override it and just pick up the socks, put them down and just try not to think about it and try not to give into it. But I often have this sinking dread feeling of, this is wrong, you're not doing the right thing, and somewhere in the universe there is a written truth about the right thing that you should be doing and you haven't found it yet and you must, you know, discover it. And that's obviously irrational. So yeah, I can, maybe it is like that, and maybe he does need some support. Definitely I get more of those kind of OCD like behaviors. Like, I had an extreme kind of hand washing obsession between like the ages of 7 and 8 or 8, 9, somewhere around there, and most of the time it's been in a period of my life where I feel like I'm out of control for whatever reason, and it's a way to kind of win back some control. And yeah, it can be really horrible and really hard to deal with, and there definitely is a tendency for autistic people to develop OCD. His response to me was that he always does that because of his autism and he cannot change that. I understand he cannot change his diagnosis, but I don't think that his diagnosis should make it impossible for him to at least try to be ready at 7:45 a.m. every morning. Is this partner potentially autistic as well? She hasn't said that she is. That maybe she has such a thing about leaving on time even though she's still getting to work on time. Obviously I can't diagnose this person I've never met as autistic, but I don't know, maybe if she's like super fixated on the time thing and it's not actually affecting her. I mean, maybe she does just want to be at work a little bit earlier just for whatever reason. Maybe she likes to go and get herself a drink before she gets started, or is there some other reason why she likes to be there at that time? So that's kind of understandable and fair. My husband's neurotypical. He really likes to be on time for things and gets very anxious if he isn't on time. So I understand a lot of people do feel that way. I suggest that he organizes his clothes a little better, but he shoots me down, says that won't help. Okay, so maybe his outfits are a bit chaotic and he's not quite finding the right thing. Apparently he can't know what outfit he will want to wear until it's the day of. Yeah, we're going back and forth and he's saying, I'm autistic, there's nothing I can do about it, to which I respond in frustration, it's annoying. My frustration being that I feel like he didn't even want to hear me out or try. I feel like he uses autism as an excuse to not fulfill what I think is a basic request. Okay, yeah, so I think we do probably need a little bit more understanding here on the part of the partner. Your partner is autistic, you've chosen to be with an autistic person whose brain is wired differently, who operates differently. It is one of the diagnostic criteria of autism that we will have restrictive and repetitive behaviors and, you know, kind of rigid thinking about things. That is kind of part of it. If it is becoming a big issue and he's changing his outfit again and again, and it is causing him distress in his life, then maybe he needs to go and seek out some therapy for that, because autism is not a mental illness, but we are more likely, much more likely, unfortunately, to suffer with mental illnesses. Because of the way our brain is wired, we do find the world overwhelming, and the way people are expected to operate in the world can sometimes be a bit much for us, and therefore we end up developing mental illnesses. Maybe he isn't, maybe he doesn't have OCD, maybe this is something he just needs to do in the morning and it makes him feel fine, and then he's okay for the rest of the day. I don't know, it's up to him to decide whether or not it's causing him enough distress, I suppose, to go and seek help for it. You could maybe try talking to him about that and see where it is, and obviously I don't know the whole situation and how upsetting he finds this, but there may be little rituals, little things that he needs to do in order to feel okay. I feel a lot better and have a much better day if I exercise in the morning. If I don't, it kind of eats me away inside. And there are times where I have had to adopt more rigid behaviors in my life just as a way of feeling some sort of control and getting myself back towards mental wellness. So it's complicated. Sometimes restrictive and repetitive behaviors can help you to feel better as an autistic person, and sometimes they're a sign that you're really not coping. I think maybe a little bit more empathy, compassion, and maybe the partner needs to learn a little bit more about autism. Doesn't sound like he's trying to do this deliberately. You know, you're not even late for work. If you really have an issue with it, maybe you need to go separately in your own Uber. Obviously that would be quite expensive, so I can understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Maybe it's frustrating if you feel like you're giving solutions and he's just shooting them down, but in his mind, you know, they don't actually fix the problem that he has, and if those solutions would work for him, he maybe would have already implemented them. I don't know. I feel like maybe it would feel like more of a problem if you were actually late, but because you actually are still getting there on time. It's been 2 days now and he won't talk to me or touch me. Okay, we need some more communication in this relationship. This is not sounding too good. He feels very strongly that I am in the wrong. I know I've said some things that were mean, but I still feel like he's being rigid and closed-minded as to my side of things. He thinks I'm always blowing things out of proportion and bashing him. Yeah, I think as autistic people, we get used to people telling us that the things that we're doing are ridiculous and irrational, and we need to just pull ourselves together. So we may have a very defensive reaction to that. I have tried putting myself in his shoes and still feel like asking him to be ready on time or not to put a skateboard on his head when we're inside a store. Where did that come from? She's venting about something else that's happened there, I suppose. It's not too much to ask regardless of his diagnosis. Putting a skateboard on his head, what, he did something that she thought was embarrassing in a store or something like that. The difficult thing is you can't really put yourself in his shoes if you're not autistic and he is autistic. I'm assuming now she doesn't seem like she is autistic because she doesn't seem to be able to relate to, you know, what is going through. There's the whole thing of the double empathy problem. Like, rather than autistic people lacking empathy, we just struggle to empathize with neurotypical people, and neurotypical people equally struggle to empathize with us because we're different and our brains are wired differently, and that would make sense. Like, autistic people do often tend to be in relationships with other neurodivergent people. They do tend to be friends with other neurodivergent people. We tend to kind of flock together because we can relate to each other. Yeah, so I think it kind of is going to be near impossible for you to be able to relate to exactly how he's feeling. I mean, you can still try. Maybe there are other things in your life that you can think of that you find distressing that other people would say are irrational, and maybe that would help you to put yourself in his shoes. I don't know. I think not talking to each other for 2 days, that's pretty, I need to talk about something. If I have a problem in my relationship, I have to be like, whoop, talk about it. But I grew up in a family who, like, my mom was very open, so we did talk about a lot of things, and I think that helps. And I think sometimes when you haven't grown up with that, it can be harder, and sometimes there are just reasons why you find it more difficult to talk about your own emotions that aren't even related to how you were raised, just related to who you are as a person. That's okay, but I think for the health of this relationship, they do need to discuss it. Maybe if there was any good couples therapists who actually understand autism, that can be the difficult thing. Do they actually understand autism? Might not be a bad idea. I don't know, because there seems to be like bigger underlying problems of her maybe feeling resentful for having to kind of accommodate him. But I do think to a certain extent both people need to put in some effort. But I don't know, is he causing any harm here? You're not late, and maybe there's the concern that you will become late. I imagine it could be kind of awkward, sat waiting with the Uber driver, not knowing when he was going to be ready, and maybe to you it feels disrespectful. But I think, you know, he's tried to express that it isn't anything about you. I do think to a certain extent, you know, you've chosen to be with an autistic person, they are going to be an autistic person, and if you don't want to be in a relationship with an autistic person and there aren't enough positives to the relationship, then maybe you shouldn't be. And the way she talks about the skateboard thing, I've actually just realized I've been assuming she's a she, but I don't know if she's a she. Maybe not. Maybe he's not actually in a relationship with a woman. I don't know. Apologies for that if they're not a she. It seems a little bit like they are embarrassed maybe of their behavior, the way it was like in a store. And I just feel like if you feel that way towards your partner, maybe it's not right. Maybe it's not a good relationship. Like, you shouldn't feel ashamed or embarrassed of your partner. You want to feel proud of your partner. Look at this person that I've chosen. And I kind of feel like I've kind of sometimes felt a little bit like that. And it's not nice. It's not fair on the other person. If you're going to be with him and accept all the good parts of him, you kind of to some extent do have to accept the not so good parts. Obviously not abusive behavior and things like that. And if, you know, he needs help with it, and then you can try and help him to get some help. Everybody sucks here, but mostly you. He could put some effort into developing some coping mechanisms to smooth out the morning routine, but he is an autistic person and you can't make him neurotypical by berating him. That feels like a good response on Reddit about an autistic person's problems. Usually they're not too understanding of autism. Calling him childish is uncalled for, and many of the things he does that seem weird to you are most likely sensory things, stimming, tics, and impulse control stuff. Very typical for folks with autism. Source: I'm autistic. Okay, this is an autistic person. If you don't want to be around someone who acts neurodivergent, then don't date someone who is. Yeah, and I think, you know, maybe you just need to do a little bit more research, read some books, I don't know, get to know a little bit more about it. If you feel like resentment is building, then, you know, maybe you don't want to be in this relationship, and maybe it's best to just step away, and maybe that's best for both of you, because you don't want to make him feel like a burden because he's autistic, because you can't change that. You're the asshole. He is 19 for a boy that is still literally a child. I don't like the thing like for a boy. I don't like this whole thing of like girls mature faster. I feel like it's a way that we allow boys to some extent to just behave badly, you know? Girls, women are expected to be more mature, are expected to be more organized. And when you're, you know, an autistic or ADHD female, that can feel tricky then, because you feel like there's extra expectations on you, and if you've got difficulties with executive dysfunction, that can be stressful. The inside of his head does not work like the inside of your head. Everyone needs to realize that that's true for every single person. They look different, their face looks different. You know, most people can tell different people apart, they recognize people's faces. The insides of them are likely just as different, and I feel like it's weird in society that we don't accept that. Google some videos about what it's like to have ADHD autism for some much needed perspective, as long as you find the right sources and it's not all coming from Autism Speaks, but maybe from actual autistic people talking about their own perspectives. Yeah, it might help. If you are somebody who's supporting an autistic person, well, I personally can only speak for myself, but I love it when other people show an interest and watch videos and read things and, you know, try and look into things that could help me, because yeah, it feels like you spent your whole life trying so hard to fit into this normal world. It's just lovely when somebody tries to fit in with you a little bit and see things from your perspective, because we're so used to being told that our perspective is a bunch of rubbish and we're just not trying hard enough, etc., etc., which is basically what this partner is trying to tell this guy. Anyway, I hope he's okay. I feel a lot of sympathy for him. Somebody said, for the record, you're both adults. There's no need to go to work together like your children. Just go separately. But cost, guys. Come on. Cost. Money. Ubers are expensive. We don't know how far away it is. It's quite nice that they go together as well. Why is that childish? Do children tend to take Ubers to work together? I don't know. So I think you are the asshole, I would say, in this situation. Need some more communication. If you want some more relationship drama, the last Am I the Arsehole video that I did, there was a couple. The one person decided to throw away the other person's Squishmallows because of some reasons discussed in the video, and they were asking, am I the arsehole for throwing away their Squishmallows? This worried me because I'm allergic to mold, and she's taking baths with moldy Squishmallows in all caps. In response, I put them in a garbage bag and threw them away. Let me know what you think about that one. Ooh. Thank you so much to my patrons over on Patreon. You've made it possible for me to post more frequently this month, and it's been great. It's been a great time. If you want to join my Patreon, it is a great place. Even if you just join the lowest tier, you get access to 2 exclusive videos every month, and you also get access to the Discord. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.